Hey, everybody. This episode of Fatso Radio is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. Folks, this episode and every episode is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. Volpe Martial Arts is the hottest, newest Kung Fu and Hapkido martial arts school in the KW region. That's right. Sifu Adam Volpe is my brother. He brings you a lifetime of experience. Hapkido, Korean style, Kung Fu, the Chinese style, brings an amazing fusion together. Self-defense, forms, weapons, discipline, respect, fitness, confidence. Teaches of all of those things and a great environment. Sifu Adam is amazing. Check them out, volpemartialarts.com. Folks, Sober October, day 9. I'm still alive. Let's do it. Let's get into it. I talk about Sober October. I talk about what's going on, my progress. No sugar. It's going good. It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. Am I good? Am I good? All right. I also talk about Carnivore Code, newest book I've listened to by Paul Saladino. Dr. Paul Saladino, Carnivore MD. Check him out. Love you all. Lily, take it away.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, our very first podcast show.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fatso Radio, episode number 88. That's right, episode number 88. And tonight, another Friday, October 9th. Whew, this year has been crazy. It's been wild. It's been going by fast. At times, for me, it's felt like it's taking forever, right? But other times I feel like this year is just flying by. So let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it. It's October, right? 9 days into my Sober October, 9 days into my no sugar, my no weed, and let's see what's going on this month. So let's get right into it. First of all, giving up cannabis, right? Giving up marijuana is something. It's a thing. I'll be honest with you guys, right? I've been doing it for years now. I don't know, 10 years, maybe more, 15 years or so. And over the years, I'll be honest again, I've used more, right, over the years. For whatever reasons, either sometimes maybe my tolerance has gone up, definitely my tolerance has gone up over the years, but also there's been times where I felt like I just needed to go to it. For whatever reason, like I said, maybe it was a crutch, maybe it was something that I turned to in negative times. Sometimes it was helpful, sometimes it was not helpful. At the end of the day, I don't think it overall hurt me, but there's definitely times when it's maybe not the best choice. Nonetheless, my relationship with marijuana has definitely evolved over the years and has changed. And like any other relationship, there's time to question that relationship, right? And like with any other relationship, there's time to reevaluate it, or there are times where you need to reevaluate it to see maybe to reevaluate. Like I said, is it still working for you? Is it still working for you the manner that it was working for you before? And sometimes you're just going to take a break. Bingo. That's what I'm doing, right? So I'm taking a break this month. First 3 days, guys, I'm going to tell you, I kind of predicted this. I hope, I don't know if I said this enough, but the first 3 days are tough. They're always tough. I was thinking about it a lot. It was on my mind. It was like, whatever. It wasn't like, there was a physical thing as well. So it wasn't just on my mind. It was like, wow, I felt like I kind of, I was like, I'm used to having it, right? I feel like I hate to say the word, I felt like I needed it, but I'll be honest. I felt like I needed it. I felt like I needed it in the same way, not as strong as I felt like I've needed sugar, but similar, right? Very similar to the way that I felt like I've needed sugar. I've had a craving, or if I've had just a draw to it, right? So the first 3 days, I definitely felt a bit of a physical, I want to call it, I don't know, like the technical term, I don't know if it is technically a withdrawal. It must be a withdrawal, right? To some regard, right? The physical, there's emotional as well, and there's a psychological as well that I'll talk about. But definitely the first couple of days, the physical of missing it, right? Even like, if anybody's smoked cigarettes for a long time, or if anybody's smoked cigars, or anybody's smoked marijuana for a long time, getting used to inhaling something on a regular basis. I mean, cigarettes, or smokers, I'm sure you can relate to this, long-time smokers, or even vapors, getting used to doing something, that alone is a habit, regardless of what the substance is. So the substance, like I said, the couple days, it was my first night or first 2 nights. It wasn't didn't have the best sleeps, tossed and turned a little bit. Now let's set the baseline, I guess. I sleep very well normally. I normally have very good, very restful sleep. So a couple nights of not 100% sleep is not the end of the world. Like I said, I've been through worse. We've all been through worse. But it's something. It's something to note, and it's something to kind of make a mental note, and make it not just a mental note, but even I'm writing this down, and it's something to know, because like I said last episode, it's all about perspective. It's all about looking at things from a different way. When I take a step back, I get to look at it a different way, and I get to look at my habit, or my tendency, or my addiction, or whatever you want to call it, right? And the same goes with sugar. When you take a step back, and I've done this many, many times with sugar. So my use of sugar, my habit to sugar, my addiction to sugar, or whatever you want to call it, compared to my use with cannabis, my addiction or habit, or whatever you want to call that, because they're both honestly truthful, right? I've used them both over the years, and I've used them both in a habit forming way over the years. Okay, but they're different. They're different for many ways, but without going into difference, I want to talk again, the withdrawal I felt, if I wanted to call it that. I don't want to harp on that, but if I did feel anything, like I said, it was something as simple as like not the regular feeling, kind of said, like if I went out for a joint every night, or if I went before bed, that kind of was something to get used to, right? The first couple of days, but also just the marijuana, the feeling of not having it in my system. I don't even know how to describe it, I guess. But I think I do now, or maybe this will help my next part. Because after the third day and the fourth day and the fifth day, I had a cool kind of calming right over me. It was like, okay, maybe it's because I kind of always thought that it was 3 days and I'm okay. Maybe it's partially that, but maybe it's also because it is 3 days, right? And it does usually take me specifically a couple days, maybe 2 or 3 days, or even 4 days sometimes. It depends, right? To get it kind of maybe out of my system, not out of my system completely, because it probably stays in your system a long time, 30 days, and longer in your hair and all that. I don't have much hair, but really the majority of it, right? And the big, maybe the big dose of it, I guess, or the noticeable dose of it, maybe that gets out of your system within a couple of days. And I did kind of feel, I'll be honest with you, I feel, and I continue to feel a nice calm, which is good, because I mean, one of the things I was kind of worried about, not worried, but one of the things I had in my mind was like, if life gets me stressed out, or, the kids or whatever it is, right? Like, am I still going to have that thing that's kind of been there for a long time? So like I said, the first couple of days, I was trying to be extra nice to my wife and extra nice to my kids, and I probably wasn't successful being extra nice, right? But hopefully I was bearable, and hopefully I was at least civilized enough to have them still love me, and they do. So thank them, and I thank my wife, and I thank everybody. But definitely, it's been the last couple of days, so it's the ninth now. The last couple of days has been very different. Again, it's been very calm. It's been very a lot less from the physical kind of pull, or the physical craving, or the physical draw, whatever you want to call it, the withdrawal. Not much of that anymore, if anything, not at all. Now, or since that, was kind of the idea more of it, or the kind of the habit of that was something that I kind of did. And I find, or I've been finding now, that I kind of have maybe more mental space. I don't know if that makes sense. Not more mental space, but like I'm not thinking about it as much, which is great, right? It's not on my mind. It's not kind of it's not, yeah, because I'm not thinking about it. And there's some kind of liberty, there's some kind of freedom that comes with that, right? Of course, a lot of freedom that comes with not thinking about something. Of course, it's Sober October, and it's during the whole month of October, I'm going to be thinking about it, because I'm talking about a podcast, and I'm talking about my wife and all this stuff. So it's always going to be on my mind, of course. But it's not recruiting, it's not hijacking most of my energy by any means. Not that it did before, but it did take more than I thought. It absolutely did take more of my thought and more of my energy that I realized, right? So this is nice. Again, I knew I was going to see a bunch of things, and I was hoping that we could see a bunch of things. And one of the great things, many of the great things, but one of the great things that I'm seeing is that it is giving me perspective to say, hey, let's look at it like this. Let's look at another modality. Let's look at another way to kind of chill out. I've gone for a lot of walks this week, which is great. I love walking regardless, whether I'm using cannabis or whether I'm not. It's been good. The walks have been different, right? My body doesn't feel, maybe it's weird. I would say, like first couple of days, I was like, oh man, my joints, man, I'm missing that cannabis, whatever. My joints are feeling good again now, right? But so there's another part to that. The other part to that is that it helped with staying away from sugar. Holy shit, does it help with staying away from sugar? Again, folks, a good time to remind you, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not an addiction specialist. I'm not a nutritional specialist. I'm a guy who's living, and I'm telling you what I'm doing, and I'm showing you what I'm doing just through my own experience, right? I'm N equals 1. I'm a scientist in my own regard. We're all scientists, right? We're all doctors in our own regard, and we're all priests in our own regards. We're all, gurus in our own regard to ourselves. That's the most important thing, right? So if I'm going to be my own doctor, if I'm going to be my own scientist, my own investigative scientist, I like to try things out. So again, I'm not giving you medical advice. Talk to your doctor. If you're switching your diet, if you're talking anything, even if it's not about diet, like you were saying about substance abuse or substance use, even if it's not abuse, right? if you're going to change something, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. That's the key. It doesn't have to be a doctor. Talk to somebody who has a profession or is a professional or not even a professional, someone with experience, right? There are certain things you do need to talk to an absolute professional. The gray area and what those are, you make your best judgment. But again, talk to someone before you make any changes, or especially something that can negatively affect your health, right? Something talking about drugs or talking about your medication, things like diet. Diet is very, very safe to make small changes for the most part, right? Without drastic changes. It's very safe to do do those things. And I encourage people to experiment, right? So day 9, without going too far off a tangent, it's been pretty good. The physical kind of withdrawal, the physical pull is kind of gone. Still a little bit of the mental, still a little bit of the, hey, this was a routine. This was a way to help myself, a modality, a crutch, whatever you want to call it, right? A Band-Aid, oftentimes, right? The thing is that it's complicated. And it's complicated for me, whether I'm using it or not. Like if this was 2 months ago, I would have probably said, it's complicated. I'm not sure exactly why I use it. I'm not 100% sure why I use it. I know 80% why I use it, right? And sometimes I know the 90%. Sometimes I only know 1% why I use it. The reality is that it's something that needs to be respected, right? And it needs to be, I do cherish it. I do respect it. I do value it. And taking a break, I've heard this before, but taking a break lets you, reminds you oftentimes what it is, or you know, what that relationship is. Because you're reevaluating that relationship, you're also reevaluating the value of that thing, right? Just like any other relationship. Not to say that people have certain value, but like a relationship, you're evaluating what this means to you and how this enhances or enriches your life, or how it is detrimental to your life. So these are the things that now, of course, I'm thinking about more and more, because I'm not worried now, or I don't feel that, oh man, I need a joint. I can think now, yeah, sure, I'd like to have a joint October 31st, and I will have a joint probably October 31st or November 1st or whatever it is, but maybe not, right? I can't plan the future. I can't tell the future. But what I can tell you is that more now I'm thinking about the kind of the existential stuff, or the philosophical things of how we're going to use it, or why we use it, the benefits of it, because again, it's complicated, right? There's a physical benefit of using marijuana, the THC, the CBD, all the other components, the terpenes or what have you. But there's also the emotional, the intellectual, the creativity side, the creative side. It's a very complex, very multifaceted, right? It really is a multifaceted kind of a substance. And it's not something that is just 100% cut and dry, 1 or 0, black and white. It's just not like that. Like other things in life, I'm learning, right? And I think we're all reminded on a daily basis that it's not cut and dry. So, and I do need to say that there were times years ago. Of course, there were times years ago, and I'm humble enough and to realize the stupid things that I've said, and the stupid things that I thought, and the stupid things that I would have swore were the truth, right? But we learn, right? And we learn. And one of the things I've learned over the years, especially specifically with cannabis, is that it's different. It's different for a lot of people. It's really different for a lot of people, and it's different for people at different times, right? It's even different for the same person at different times, right? So even at different amounts too. So it's quite complex. I mean, for some person, they might use it and it may enrich their life, right? And they may use it temporarily, it may enrich their life. Some people, they may use it all the time, a little bit, and it may enrich their life. Some people may use the same amount, but it'd be detrimental to their life. Everybody has a different tolerance level. Everybody has a different tolerance level for addiction, or a different, kind of propensity or ability to get addicted. I have an ability, I have a pretty good ability to get addicted to things. But as time goes on, because I'm aware of that, I feel like I'm getting stronger, right? I feel like I'm becoming smarter and realizing, hey, there's certain pitfalls here. There's certain pitfalls there. There's some triggers. Don't do this. Don't do this. Set yourself up. Make sure you have support. Make sure you have something else to do when it's, join a clock when you normally had one, right? Or you every Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock at kickoff time when you're watching football, you'd smoke a bong. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it if you're going to do that, right? But if you're going to stop smoking bongs, if you're going to stop smoking marijuana for a little while, for an experiment, right? Whether it's a month or 2 months, or even if it's 10 days, you're going to have to do something else with that time. So there's lots of things to do with the time. You can read, you can write, you can do whatever. You can just reflect, right? You can exercise. All these things you should be doing anyway, when you're using cannabis. And I firmly believe that. And I did, right? I'm still exercising when I use cannabis. I'm still walking, or still reading, and still trying to write and things like that. It's interesting as well, the things that I'm finding I'm drawn more towards, right? Or things that I'm not drawn towards as I were maybe, or as I was maybe a week ago or 9 days ago. For an example, I haven't really had any urge to play video games the last couple of days. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me and weed equals I want to play video games. Maybe there was a time when this is probably the truth, but there's a time when I first started smoking marijuana, or especially when I started smoking more of it, that I was playing a lot of video games, right? Whether I was in college, after college, working on my own, finally got a job, on my own, probably 10 or 15 years ago, making some good money, had no bills, and a lot of times just sit home and play video games, right? It's things that people do. It's not a great choice. Obviously, it's not a great idea, but it is something that happens. So we learn, we grow, and it's giving you time, like I said, giving me time to think about things. The other thing that's been great, is that it's paired perfectly with the no sugar, right? Just being on track, being on hardcore. Folks, I want to say something. When I say that I want to be hardcore and I want to be like, go hard, that's just my own version of hardcore, right? It doesn't mean that you need to be super militant, super strict in order to succeed. You don't. There are many ways to do it. Like I said, always, I don't suggest people have cheat days, have junk and all this stuff, and they'll still expect to succeed. You can have cheat days, of course. You can still have these days where you're not on plan, but I don't think, and I don't suggest, I don't recommend people plan them, right? I always say that again, but I'm not going to harp on it. But what's helped me, right, is that marijuana oftentimes for people gives them the munchies. Quite honestly, I don't think it's a secret, but it gives a lot of people the munchies. I didn't realize that it still gave me the munchies, believe it or not. But it does. It still does. It's funny. It's given me the money, or it's kind of had that munchie effect less and less over the years. So when I first started, I quite vividly remember having something as simple as, a couple puffs from a joint from, my buddy Johnny, peace out to you, way back when. And I remember that I would have a couple puffs, and then next thing you know, I want to eat my whole kitchen. Okay. So that doesn't happen anymore. That probably one of the worst habits that I got into, I'm sure, when I still had a crazy sugar addiction, when I still had a crazy food addiction with carbs and all that stuff. It's not good to pair that with marijuana. It's not good to pair that with marijuana, right? So one of the things that's been great, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink here. One of the things that's been great is that it's helped me, right? It's helped me stay off sugar, off carbs, off garbage and all this crap for this month. And how has it done that? So I haven't had the munchies, but honestly, for the first couple of days, like I said, folks, I'm being dead honest. I have nothing to hide with this, and I'm not ashamed of this. So the first couple of days, I didn't really feel like eating that much. I didn't, right? I was thinking about, marijuana. I was thinking about the month actually more than, like I said, it's such a complex thing, because you think about the future at the same time as you're going through a little bit of a withdrawal with a natural withdrawal, which I definitely went through, right? And then, so it's weird, and then it's helping you because it's keeping you on track, right? So for the first couple of days, honestly, guys, I didn't think much about food. And let's be honest as well, for the last 2, 3, even 4 years, I've been doing a lot of fasting, right? There's been many days where I went a whole day without eating. There's been many, many days where I went 3 or 4 o'clock, from breakfast or from skipping breakfast and then going until 3 or 4 o'clock and then having a meal. Many, many days, right? That's part of the success. Let's be honest. Part of the success with losing a bunch of weight comes with fasting. You're just not eating, right? And without getting too much on a tangent, that's the kicker. When you try to intermittent fast, or you try to just fast a lot, and you're not adapted, you're not fat adapted, you're not keto adapted, you're setting yourself for more struggles. It's possible. You can do it. You can be 100% sugar burner and still fast every second day. You sure can, right? You deserve a medal for that. You really do, because it's very, very difficult to do that. I don't even know if it's the best thing to do, right? If I think that being a sugar burner is not ideal, again, I'm not a doctor, guys, but if I don't think it's ideal, however, fasting is good for you, great. I'll still, I'll say that fasting is great, and I'll probably recommend that, or rather support it. But at the same time, going back to that sugar diet, yeah, it's probably going to be good, but I'm not sure. I wonder if there's a little bit of damage that occurs. There's probably a little bit of damage in the, either it's an endothelial, the blood vessels. Maybe when you're switching your diets like that, right? There's a lot of pressure that comes in, right? There's a lot of electrolyte changes going on. There's a lot of water getting moved all over your body, right? Your digestive tract, a lot of your gut bacteria, your gut microflora, right? A lot of that is switching. It changes, right? When you switch to a carnivore diet or you switch to a ketogenic diet, basically just a low sugar diet, your bacteria, your gut bacteria change. The bacteria that eat sugar and starches, right, and carbohydrates, those die off eventually, and there's a bit of a transition, right? And then the bacteria that eat more protein and more fat, those proliferate, right? And those are generally healthier for you. Good thing. So on those first 3 days, again, I didn't feel like eating very much, right? Because I thought about it. I thought about the month and everything else, but it wasn't so bad because, like I said, I've been used to fasting. So I just basically drank some soup. I had a couple times just water and salt. I have that a lot. Basically, I don't really drink water that often without salt. You may call me crazy, but I really don't. And I don't drink water all day either, right? It's not something I'm constantly drinking water. I've been drinking, I don't know if I've been drinking more water. No, I've been pretty much drinking the same amount of water this week as I have the rest of the time or the weeks in the past. But there's something about the no marijuana that's really helping. I'll tell you what it is. It's probably, like I said, the munchies, and I want to get into that a little bit more. So although I don't eat the whole kitchen anymore, I don't crush all my fridge and my cupboards and everything if I'm using marijuana, it still gives me appetite, right? It still does make me a little bit hungry, or it still gives me the sensation that I can use some chips or I can use some pork rinds, whatever it is, even if I'm eating pork rinds or pork rinds and sour cream or whatever that was, or just cheese. And I found that I haven't been going to those little snacks, even the snacks that I consider healthy, right? So I consider salami healthy, and I consider prosciutto healthy, and I consider cheese healthy, and I consider whatever, like all the meats basically, right? But I know for dairy specifically, I know for cheese, right? And sour cream, even more than cheese, that can definitely hold weight with me, and that can prevent me from losing weight. So I haven't been going to that. And I think the reason maybe is that, like I said, even if it does give me, even if I smoke a little bit of marijuana, but it gives me a bit of a craving, but not crazy like it used to, maybe that would then make me have a snack during the day, what I wouldn't normally have. And I'm finding now within, like I said, 9 days into October, going throughout the day and even the night now, aside from a meal, of course, right? I have no hunger at all. So another, a bit more of perspective, like what's now this diet? I'm interested now. I'm really intrigued because what's this diet going to do for me now? What's this way of eating going to do for me without artificial cravings? And I think that smoking cannabis created artificial cravings, right? It's been known to give people cravings to have junk food. Whether, I'm not sure exactly the mechanism, but whether it just makes food taste better or whether it actually maybe drops your blood sugar a little bit. Maybe it did that. And then that would give you a bit of a craving. So I should be testing my blood. I'm going to start testing my blood, I think. It'd be a good experiment to see. And then maybe if I go back to smoking marijuana again, I'll test it again. But at this point, like I said, anybody who knows me probably thinks I'm crazy to even suggesting that I'm not going to be smoking. But who knows, right? It's been interesting. It's been easier for me to stay on my diet. I don't know. I mean, diet, way of eating, whatever you want to call it. I'll always call it a diet because the definition of a diet is just the food you eat, right? I'm not saying a diet is restrictive. If the food I eat is considered restrictive compared to the food you want to eat or someone else wants to eat, you can call that restrictive. I don't give a shit. It's not restrictive to me because I don't feel restricted. I don't feel repressed. I don't feel oppressed, right? I don't feel like I'm going without. And because of that, I don't think it's a restrictive diet. Sure, you're restricting certain foods, sure, but it's not a painfully restrictive diet, I guess, in that regard. And it's not a diet. It's an elimination diet in many, many ways, which is great, right? We've always known we should eliminate the shitty food. We've always known that, right? So eliminate the shitty food, keep the good food. It's been really good for me. And how good has it been for me? Okay, so I've told you already that I haven't really had cravings. I haven't really, haven't had the urge to go get a snack outside of a meal. When I wake up in the morning, I'm not really ever hungry anyway. But I haven't even throughout the day, like, on the weekend or even throughout the day, if I would normally kind of have a joint, maybe at lunch or maybe when I'm not working, of course, or maybe I've been off in the summer, or like I said, at night after supper, or even later on, like maybe 8 o'clock at night, we're watching TV, watching Netflix or whatever it is. In the past, if I would go outside to have a joint or whatever, I come back in and maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I can have a snack. It's been pretty interesting because I haven't had that craving at all. So pair the first 3 days where I didn't really feel like eating with the next 6 days where I've been great just with whatever meals I've been eating, and it's been the same, folks. It's been beef. It's been bacon. It's been eggs. It's been fish, salmon, oysters, shrimp, lamb. Oh man, I've eaten so many. Like we've had chicken the other day. We had brisket today. Oh, brisket, my friends, my family. I love you. Eat brisket, and be merry. It's amazing. Any kind of beef, any kind of red meat, eat it all. So, Carlo, you're saying this is good for you. You're saying this is you haven't had cravings. So what is it? Put your money where your mouth is. Okay, folks, let's talk about something. October 1st, I was 220 pounds. And let's remember, okay, this is not always about weight loss. It's about overall health, but weight loss is a massive part of this, okay? I'm going to tell you just in a minute when I talk about my BMI, how it's not about weight only. Remind me. You're not going to remind me, but I'm going to remember. So October 1st, I was 220 pounds. Now, before I get further with that, I want to tell you that in a couple days before October 1st, I ate some junk. I ate some sugar. I ate some chocolate. I ate some, excuse me. I think, I don't know, what else did I eat? I ate, whatever, chocolate candy, you know, the Halloween candy that comes out before Halloween, and they give it to you free when you buy $300 worth of groceries, and here's a box of poison. Anyway, so I had that. And I had it a couple days before October 1st. Nonetheless, October 1st, I was 220 pounds. Okay. Now, before I get too crazy and tell you where I'm at right now, that 220 pounds probably wasn't my real weight. It was probably still about 5 pounds of water, I'll say. Probably, honestly, it was about 5 pounds of water. So let's say 215 maybe is what I was at. Excuse me. Before that, but I'll tell you what. I weighed myself today, October 9th, okay, in the morning. I've been weighing myself for the last couple of days. Actually, the last week I've been weighing myself. And I'm 206 today. Folks, within 3 days, so by the 3rd, I was down, I think, 5 or 6 pounds of water. Another 4 pounds then after that. And the last couple of days, it's been a pound here. And then today is another pound. Now, I'm not going to keep on losing a couple pounds or I'm not going to lose 14 pounds in 9 days. Like, you can't do that, right? Because like I said, the first bit was really water. If I was 215 or so before that weekend and I'm 220 and then I'm going down to 215 again, I'm basically back at square one, right? So from 215 or so, if I had to guess, down to 206, that's like 11 pounds, right? No, that's 9 pounds. 9 pounds. So that's quite a bit of weight. But it's not scary. It's not alarming. I know what I'm doing, I think, at least for myself, right? I've lost 120 pounds, right? I'm 206. My biggest was 330. I know what I'm doing, at least for myself, I think I'm reasonable. I know what I'm doing. I'm eating, right? I'm eating beef. I'm eating butter. I'm having water. I'm having salt. I'm having like eggs, I'm having liver. I'm covering your bases with nutrients, and they're nutrient dense food, right? They're very nutrient dense food that I'm eating, and I'm losing weight. And I know I'm losing fat. If anybody's ever lost fat, you know when you're losing fat as opposed to when you're losing water, right? When you're losing water, you're peeing a lot. Sometimes your stools may be loose. When you're losing fat, it's a little bit different. And it's not just water. And I don't know, I can tell. And right away, the inflammation, right? Like I said, October 1st, I was up to 220, like I said, holding on to 5, 6, maybe even 7 pounds. So I hold on to a lot of water. Remember, I was 330 pounds on my biggest. I can hold on to a shit ton of water. Most people can hold on to a lot of water. It's actually an ability of ours, right? Survival ability for us to hold on to water. So once you get rid of that water, I've been losing fat now for the last couple of days. Folks, remember my goal, I've always said to my brother, to my, Coach John, Master John, to, Seagung, to Seafoods, everybody I've ever talked to was, I'd love to get to 205 as a kind of light heavyweight kind of fighting weight range. Not that I'm fighting, one day I would love to, but 205. My real kind of pie in the sky goal has always been the 199. And as this month's been going on, it's the ninth of the month right now. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna put another goal out there, folks. If you listen to me, you know that I always put goals with myself. Whether I crush that goal, I try and crush every goal, or whether I fail, I'm still gonna have a goal. I'm still gonna make a goal. Here's my goal, folks. October 31st, I'm gonna hit 199. I'm on pace. I'm 206 right now, right? I had 7 more pounds to go. I got 3 more weeks. No problem. More than 3 weeks, right? But I have to be diligent, but I have to be smart. I have to keep my fluid levels up. I got to keep my electrolytes up. Electrolytes are sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, right? Sodium is your master electrolyte. If you get your salt in check, have your salt. if you have your salt in check, your sodium in check rather, it'll help maintain the other electrolytes. Rob Wolf from the Paleo Solution Diet, he's amazing. He goes into great detail about salt and how important salt is for us. So what have I been eating, right? Well, how have I been doing this? I've been eating meat, animal products in general, right? Including butter, no cheese or no yogurt or no sour cream, but meat and butter and salt. That's what I've been eating, folks. That's what I've been eating. I've been satisfied. I've been walking, right? So I'm still walking. I'm still exercising. I didn't run this month at all. I've been walking though. I've been walking a lot. I've been walking like maybe 10K every couple days. A couple days less than that. One day I walked 11K. I haven't ridden yet, but I'm going to ride again on the bike. So I'm moving and I'm staying active. I had 2 Kung Fu classes yesterday. I had a Kung Fu class on Tuesday. I'm active, but it's not crazy, folks. It's not crazy by any means. If I go for an hour walk, that's not a huge struggle for me. I'm proud of it, of course, right? And I know it's good for me, but it's not super difficult. And it's an hour. You can take an hour at 6 a.m., take an hour at noon. You can take an hour at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. You can take an hour anytime you want. After supper, before supper, take an hour. We have an hour. We have an hour, right? And again, the exercise isn't crazy, but I am starting to work out a little bit more. I'm trying to, I want to start, I've been saying this for years, I want to start incorporating a little bit more weights, but really, I mean, body weight exercise is the best way to do it. I can put more weights on me if I want to, but really I've been consistently just getting out there, walking, breathing, getting out there and walking, and it's been great, right? So that's what I've been doing. I've been keeping it up, and it's going so good so far. It's the 9th. Like I said, I'm down, I don't know. I mean, you could say technically I'm down probably 16 pounds. No, is that right? No, 14 pounds maybe from the first, but really I feel around 10 or 9 or 10 pounds, and it feels good. It doesn't really matter to me. Like I said, how do I say this? On one hand, the number means nothing, right? Number means nothing because I feel healthy and I am healthy and I'm strong. I feel strong. If anybody knows me, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not the kind of guy who'd say that I feel strong if I didn't feel strong. I'm the kind of guy who say I don't feel that strong today. I'll be honest with you, but I feel strong. I feel strong, right? I wake up. I don't need coffee. I don't. In fact, I've been trying to remember not to have coffee. That's such a habit as well, right? It's one of those things that, oh, that's the other thing. So that's the other thing I have. I do have coffee sometimes, usually decaf, but when I do have coffee, I make sure I put quite a bit of salt in it, believe it or not, because I find caffeine really dehydrates me as well. And I need that salt helps, maintain at least a little bit of that water. So when I don't have coffee, I actually even feel better, but it's kind of just a mental game. Sometimes I got to remind myself because I've been drinking coffee for a long time, like everybody else, even decaf. I feel like I drink a lot of decaf, but I feel like I definitely don't need it. And another testament to how well this diet works for me is that when I'm super clean with no crap, no junk, no sugar, and not even fruit for my part, and not even vegetables for me, when I'm eating just meat and salt or animal products and salt, I don't even need coffee. Come on, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing for someone. For me, I've been drinking coffee my whole life. And for a lot of people, you probably drink coffee. If you do drink coffee, you know what coffee does, right? So I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to keep it up. Again, like I say, on one hand, the number it's not the end all and be all because I feel healthy and I'm good, right? And I feel good and I'm performing as good as I want to perform. And I'm still seeing progress. I'm still getting gains, right? In martial arts, at Volpe Martial Arts, hey, shout out to Volpe Martial Arts. Check them out, volpemartialarts.com. At martial arts classes, I'm still stretching. I'm still gaining. I'm still gaining more grounds in my stretches. I'm still trying to kick higher, right? I'm still trying to kick harder. I'm still trying to do more push-ups. I'm still trying to do more crunches and more stride jumps or all my calisthenics, all my exercises, and I am progressing. So I'm keeping on doing that, and I'm getting better, and I'm getting stronger, and I'm keeping on losing weight. That's great. So when it comes to the number, does 199 or 206, is there ever really a difference? There's 7 pounds. At the end of the day, those 7 pounds aren't going to mean anything to me, right? They're not going to mean anything to my health, probably. You may think they will, and maybe they will, but from my perspective, from 300 pounds to 200 pounds, that's a big difference. Even from 300 pounds to 250, that was a big difference. That changed my health. That helped my health. That helped get things in the right direction, right? 6 pounds, 7 pounds is probably not the end of the deal, but it's a big mental game, right? It's a big thing. Like I've been sitting around 220 for a couple of years now, right? Which I'm totally happy with. And no one would give me shit for it. No one would say I'm not doing enough. And at the same time, I would never give anybody shit for staying at 220. Oh my God. I prayed. I would have given my left arm to be 220 for probably 20 years, right? So Nothing wrong with that at all. And there's nothing wrong with 210. There's nothing wrong with 215. There's nothing wrong with any of those numbers because those numbers are arbitrary. Why do I want to be 199? Because it seems like a nice number, right? Again, folks, if you know me, even if you don't know me, you could probably guess that I probably won't be 100% satisfied at 199, but I might be. It doesn't matter whether I want to stop at 190 or 199 or whether I want to get to 185 or whether I want to get to 175 so I can fight my brother or 180 so I can fight my brother. It doesn't really matter because at this point, right, at this point, now I'm doing it for a different purpose. Now I'm doing it for, now it's a sport, right? Now my weight, I don't want to say my weight's a sport because that can kind of be misconstrued in the wrong way, but now I'm just trying to fine tune, right? And it's funny because I want to talk about the numbers again. Many reasons why you shouldn't just hold on to the numbers because numbers can change every day. Things like water, things like your how much you slept the night before, how stressed you are, where you are in your menstrual cycle, right? For women, a huge thing, right? Talk to any woman. If you're a woman, you know, I don't even have to tell you. These things, there's water, there's hormone changes. There's even in men, there's hormone changes throughout the month. There's water changes. What did you eat yesterday? Not only what did you eat yesterday, what did you eat 2 days ago, right? And what did you eat already today? Did you wake up and did you have anything? So there's many, many factors in it. So I don't know, folks. Oh yeah, where's I going with that? Numbers. So I weighed myself today, right? 206. I'll say yesterday. Yesterday when I was 207, I weighed in and my BMI was 30.5. Okay? If you know anything about BMI and you're a relatively reasonable person, you should also think, well, you might also think that BMI is full of shit. I think that for a lot of people I know, and for a lot of people that are concerned about losing weight, BMI doesn't end up being a good measure, right? So BMI is the body mass index. It's basically your weight to your height ratio. That's it, right? And there's some calculations in there. And basically what it tells you, if it's over 30, you're obese. If it's over 25 to 30, you're overweight. If it's, believe between 20 and 25, you're a normal weight. Okay. I did some calculations today. My BMI at my biggest was 47. 330 pounds at 5'10", your BMI, if I remember the numbers correctly, my BMI was 47. I'm 5'10" still. I didn't grow, right, in 4 years. I'm 207, and my BMI was 30. 30.1 is obese. If you want to talk about motivation, or you want to talk about inspiration, you want to talk about just staying in it, don't look at BMI. I'll tell you right now, folks, if I look at BMI and if I used BMI as my judge, as my metric to see whether I was winning or not, or whether I was succeeding or not, whether I was gaining health or regaining health or not, I would be depressed. I would be depressed. And people are depressed sometimes when they look at that. Because here it is. If I weigh 207 pounds and I'm 5'10", right? On my chart from the doctor, yes, I'm overweight. I'm supposed to be 180 pounds, but you tell me, I'm not going to say, you tell me a 5'10" guy who's 180 pounds, 170 pounds, because there are many, many people like that. So it's not about what everybody's like. It's like what your individual situation is like, right? I've always been someone who's always kind of held some muscle on me, right? And with that fat, of course, but if I hold more muscle on me than the average person, which I don't even know if I'm more muscular than average, I don't know, but say hypothetically I was, right? And then that's going to skew the numbers, right? If I have, here's a perfect example. I'm 5'10", Joe is 5'10". I'm 220, Joe is 220. Sorry, I'm 5'10", Joe's 5'10". I'm 207, Joe's 207. If Joe's 207, or Frank or Bob, whatever his name is, but he's literally never moved. He's not athletic. He's not very mobile, right? He can't touch his toes. He can't, lift the plates off the bed. If you don't have any strength, and if you can't do 5 push-ups, or if you can't do 1 push, not that there's any problem with that, but I'm just kind of setting the stage. There's a difference between 207 athletic and 207 non-athletic, and that's why something like a BMI is a tool and it's a metric, but it's not very valuable. It can be valuable, I suppose, right? If you have very lean or very low muscle mass, right? You may fit into it. You may be 175 pounds or 180 pounds, at that height, right? Your BMI might be perfect, but because it's just about your mass, it doesn't really tell you what's going on. It doesn't say fat percentage at all, right? It doesn't say your body composition. And that's the bottom line. It doesn't tell you your body composition. So someone with a lot more muscle and someone with not much muscle may have the same BMI. And that's why it's very confusing. So if there's nothing else to look for, BMI may be a general, like, general guideline. When in doubt, sure, it's better than nothing. So, and to show, I guess, its value, it's a little bit value, is that, yes, I'm still overweight, right? Most people who look at me, I don't know, actually, it's hard to tell right now because I kind of even talking to my wife today. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not, like, am I fat? Like, I hate that word, but at the same time, I love that word. Right? This is Fatso Radio. I have to talk about it. So it's such a weird thing to say, and it's such a weird thing to kind of think about. But I said, my face isn't chubby. She's like, no, your face is not chubby. I said, I'm not like, I still got skin. I still got, whatever. But if I were to just look at that scale, right? And if I'm 22% body fat or whatever, or 21% body fat or whatever it is, that's not obese, I don't think, right? It's overweight, of course. But I look at that, right? And I look at that scale, and that BMI is saying 30.1 or 30, which is basically obese. So even at the high end of overweight, if I really think I'm at the super high end of overweight, close to obese, depending on my current state of mind, what's that going to do to me, right? What's that going to do, or what can that potentially do to my progress, to my forward progress, to my momentum, right? To my constitution, right? To my ability to keep on going. So I don't suggest people look at BMI. I do think that it's valuable to look at the scale. It's valuable to look at the scale as a kind of a monitoring tool, see how you're progressing. I don't think that it's a good idea for someone to think that they should weigh the same as someone else. Mind, at the same time, I'm playing this ongoing game with my brother, Adam. Sifu Adam, Volpe Martial Arts, check it out. VolpeMartialArts.com. So I have this ongoing game with Adam saying, I'm going to catch your weight. He probably weighs about 180, maybe 185, giving you some leeway there, Adam. And I've been saying with him, I'm going to catch you, whatever. And the truth of the matter is that it would be very difficult for me to catch his weight, I think, if he's 185, but it's not impossible. And I don't know if I'm ever going to want it to get there anyway, but it's good. It's been a fun kind of a thing, because, I say to him, I'm going to catch him. He's like, oh shit. He's like, fuck, Carlo. Because the real funny part is that I've been saying that for 20 years, guys, right? More. Holy shit, I'm 42, he's 45. I've probably been saying it for 40 years. Probably the minute I started talking, I probably said I want to be like Adam, right? Or I want to be better than Adam, right? I mean, whatever it is, right? That competition. So it's healthy competition, and it's healthy because even if it's not enough, I don't want him to get anxious, of course. I don't want him to get nervous about it. I don't want him to feel pressure about it, or paranoid about it, or even have any sort of stress about it, because stress doesn't help you lose weight, right? It could, but it's not healthy. But what is good about him, and I enjoy, it's very entertaining for me, is that I know it's in his back of his mind, right? I sent him a photo 2 days ago, 208, sent him a photo yesterday, 207, sent him a photo this morning, 206. Again, losing a pound a day is not sustainable. It's not going to happen all the time. And I know I'm going to plateau, right? Maybe I'll stop tomorrow, 205 for a week, right? I don't know. There's different things, right? Like, there's different reasons, but maybe I will keep on losing weight because I have more weight to lose, right, folks? I'm not tall, right? And I know, even for myself, because I was so big, it's hard for me to sometimes grasp the idea that I can safely, right? I can safely walk around at 190 pounds. I can safely walk around at 180 pounds, probably 170. Probably. I know guys my height 170. So, and if they look great, maybe I'd be ripped at 170. But even though that number is probably still healthy and still, possible and reasonable, it's hard. It's hard to play with these numbers in the 100s when you're normally playing in the 2 or the 300s, right? Even something funny. My sister-in-law Marg yesterday, I kind of mentioned, hey, I lost my weight. She's like, what are you at now? I'm like 206. She's like, 206? I'm like, yeah. She's known me forever. She's known me when I was 306, right? She's known me when I was 326, probably. Yeah, she's known me the whole time. So it's funny when you're talking about different numbers, but it's great, and it's encouraging. Like I said, that camaraderie with me and my brother, I keep it going. I love it. And it is, like I said, I don't want to stress him out, but at the same time, it's healthy competition, right? We work out together. He knows when I'm working out. He knows when I see, like, he works out hard and I'm working. Like, it's funny, if there's any competition, I have to keep up with his fitness level. So that's okay. I like that. He's always kind of been on that, and it's good. And, he always trains and all that stuff. So I've been up in my game. I'm trying to go more and more Kung Fu. Actually, it's doing good. I'm actually very excited. I've learned the Tonfa form now. in Kung Fu. So it's been pretty good. Last couple of days, I've learned the last moves. And shout out to Daryl Craig. Thank you, Seafood Craig, for Seafood Daryl, sorry, for the Tonfa. It was awesome. And so it's good. The healthy competition is good, and it's been going good so far. I'm going to keep that up for this month. Right? It's the 9th. We'll see how the rest of the month goes. I have no plans to go off my diet. I have no plans to blow off sober October. But at the same time, folks, I'm not perfect, right? And I never say that I'm perfect. If I've ever said that, if I've ever even misconstrued that or kind of make it sound like I'm trying to speak from an ivory tower, by no means. I've made every single mistake, and I'm going to make more mistakes. And feel free to be human. Feel free to be human to know that you're going to make those mistakes too. So yeah, that's it that's what I got for October. The next thing I want to talk about is my book review for Paul Saladino's book, The Carnivore Code, in just a second. All right, folks, we're back. So I want to talk about this book that I've recently listened to on audio, so on Audible, called The Carnivore Code by Dr. Paul Saladino. So this book, it's been amazing, and it's been an eye opener. It's a couple things about the books. First of all, I've listened on audio, which I really like. I really enjoy. Excuse me. I really enjoy listening to books on audio. I like reading them as well, but I do like listening to audio. Number of reasons you can, for a number of reasons rather, you can do it. You can listen in the car. You can listen when you're riding or walking or running or what have you. So it's very convenient. I've been usually listening to them on my walks, usually an hour or two. It depends what it is. Sometimes half an hour, sometimes around the block. But he's also, if I'm just kind of working at home doing something or kind of just surfing through the internet, sometimes I'll just at night, I'll kind of listen to the book. So I really, really like that. Another thing to remember is that, excuse me, I found it interesting, at least, and you might find it interesting, that I read this book, and the first carnivore book that I really read 2 years after I started doing the carnivore diet. So January 2018 is when I started the carnivore diet. And it was Dr. Sean Baker was on Joe Rogan podcast. I know, Joe Rogan podcast. Shout out, Joe. And he said, hey, I just eat steak and salt, and I'm thriving. And he's like breaking world records. He's just crushing all these things. He has an over 50 American US record for the row on the Concept 2 rower. He's doing all these amazing things. So I'm like, I'm just gonna start it. Fuck it, right? So January 2018, I did this. Now, almost 2 years carnivore, I have a very good idea of how I use carnivore. I'm still tweaking it. I'm still learning a lot. I'm learning that the organs are great. I've always known the organs are great, but I'm learning that the organs are great for me, and I perform really good when I have organs and connective tissue and things like I talked about really in things he talks about in the book. But it's been interesting because as I'm listening to the book, I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. Or I'm listening sometimes, I didn't even know that. There's some things I'm learning along the way that I kind of wish I would have listened to 2 years ago, but that always happens. So that's okay. First of all, I highly recommend this book. It's an in-depth book. Dr. Paul Saladino, I can't tell you enough about this guy. So I can't praise him enough. He's got an amazing podcast, Carnivore MD. I think it's still called the Carnivore MD. Paul Saladino, he's California dude, I believe. He's into surfing. He's into CrossFit type stuff. Body weight exercises, box jumps, all this stuff. He's crushing life. He's all about being radical, and I get it. He's got to be in his 30s. He's doing great. Has a great experience because he did a vegan diet. He did a vegetarian diet. He's a doctor. He was a physician's assistant in cardiology. He knows what he's talking about, right? He's a doctor. He's written this book. He starts out with the book talking about ancestral eating. The same things that we're all talking about, folks. The people that talk about paleo, the people that talk about keto, the people that talk about carnivore, if they're worth anything, they should be talking about their ancestral heritage. They should be talking about why we think we should be eating this food, right? Big reason is that we've been eating this way for a long time. And Paul brings up, and his argument is, he proposed that we've basically been eating meat for about 4 million years, give or take some, not the details, but he goes into the history of how and when we started eating meat, right? We started out as scavengers. The theory is, the proposal, at least the assumption, or the best guess with evidence, is that we started out probably being scavengers, eating a little bit of meat, maybe bones or things that were broken. And then over the course of basically, I think around 4 million years ago, there's evidence that we started eating meat. Within 1 million years of eating meat, our brain size went from, I think, around 300 or 500 cc's, give or take, and it doubled. So remember, for 4 million years, or sorry, before that, 30 million years or whatever, we were chimps and monkeys and all these smaller kind of primates. And then 4 million years ago, we started eating meat. And then within a million years, apparently, estimations, right? Our brains doubled, right? And that has a lot to do with how people think that we became human, right? And Paul Saladino talks about it. And his argument, like many others, is that that's what made us human. The enriched nutrients that you get from fat, enriched nutrients you get from muscle meat, but also the organs, the bones. Once we were able to get more meat, the proposed theory is that our brain doubled. We got all that extra nutrients that you need, omega-3s, DHA, the EPA, all these nutrients, the saturated fat, right? The protein, your vitamin A, vitamin Bs, all your vitamin D, all your fat soluble vitamins. You need fat where are you going to get fat soluble vitamins if you don't have fat, right? So we evolved, by best guess for most people, over millions and millions of years eating meat. And we've been eating meat for at least 4 million years is what people think. And we've become very good hunters. The idea as well that eating meat gave us our brains the ability to grow, right? As our brains grew bigger, some people, and Paul and other people think that other parts of our bodies compensated, which makes sense, right? Our digestive systems changed over the years, and Paul talks about it in the book as well. If we were previously like chimps or even like more like gorillas years ago, that means our large intestines were much bigger, much longer. If you've ever seen a gorilla eat, I hope you know, that they are basically hind fermenters. They eat a lot of plants, a lot of fibrous plants, and they basically ferment. They got to chew all day long, or they just eat fruit or whatever, but they're fermenting, and they have these big distended bellies, right? Our primate ancestors had those distended bellies, and there's still primates out there that have those bellies, right? We don't. And it is proposed that as our brains grew, over the millions of years that our brains grew, our digestive systems shrunk, makes sense. Our rib cages shrunk, makes sense. And basically, you can thank having abs or six packs of abs to our ancestors into becoming, or because we ate meat. The idea is that when you have a digestive system that tolerates a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of sugar, a lot of fermentable fibers, you end up fermenting. And when you ferment a lot, right, you create a lot of gas. But the idea of fermenting is to enable what fermentation does is that it releases certain nutrients, and it lets certain nutrients get created by bacteria, by the bacteria that is fermenting it. What it creates and what it breaks down and basically creates is short chain fatty acids. So anybody who knows anything about ruminants or anything about herbivores know that when you're eating, for ruminants specifically, when they eat the grass, when they eat those grains, right, they're fermenting these, and they're fermenting these fibers. They're a 4-chamber stomach, and the reason why they're fermenting it is to get the short chain fatty acids from it. They need to. It's a laborious process of chewing and fermenting and switching and moving and all this stuff to get the short chain fatty acids. So what does that mean? Herbivores are keto. Follow me. If all the food of an herbivore, right, a moose, a deer, a cow, a buffalo, if it's fermenting and the end product of fermentation is short chain fatty acids, that's what you get when you're eating fat. That's what you get when you're eating keto, right? Ketones break down or short chain fatty acids. It breaks down to that. So the theory is that our digestive systems actually got evolved over the years, and it adapted to our environment, adapted to the food we were eating, because we weren't eating. And this is a proposal. There must have been a long period of time, the theory is, that we weren't eating plants at all. And Paul's theory, and a bunch of other people theorize that there was probably some time where we were eating mostly only animals or only animals at all. And because of that, our digestive system really shrunk, right? Our small intestines, so the first part of your digestive, so your stomach, your small intestines, your large intestines, your colon at the end. Our small intestines, rather, the first part after stomach is quite long. That's where we get a lot of our nutrients from. When you're breaking down fat and protein, it starts breaking down in the stomach, right? And then it starts getting absorbed in the small intestines. If food gets to the large intestines, starches and carbohydrates, that's where it ferments. That's where it gets gas. That's where it creates the certain bacteria that lay in the small intestines, right? That's where it gets, and oftentimes it's anaerobic bacteria, right? So sometimes it's gram-negative, whether it's good or bad, that's where the bacteria is created. Some people theorize, and I would actually say that it makes sense that we don't do that. Here's why. Before I go off on a tangent, here's why. You stop eating grains. I stop eating fruit. I stop eating sugars, fermentable sugars. My guts, literally my gut, literally my stomach or my abdomen area shrinks. Over time, of course, it shrinks, but even within the first couple of days, I noticed it shrank. Why? No bloating, no gas. Think about this for a second. Do you think our optimal state of digestion is to be gassy and to be bloated and to fart? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Paul and other people have showed me and taught me through these books and everything else that we actually have our digestive system handles fat the best and it handles protein the best. And Paul suggested, and he argues that we were fat hunters, that humans over the years hunted animals, the larger the animal, the more fat, relatively, proportionally speaking, is usually there. So we became fat hunters. The Inuit, the people all over the world that are still hunters, that are still living, kind of off the land in nomadic ways, they're still eating animal meat, right? The Inuit up north literally survived off of whales and sharks and all these animals, and they hunted the fat, the animal with the fat. I think whale fat was the most prized possession in the north, right? And there's studies, and Paul gets into all the old studies. 100 years ago they went, Weston Price went around, and others, different explorers went around to see what the Inuit ate, to see what all these people in different tribes ate, and they noticed the same thing: is that yes, some cultures ate carbohydrates, but most of the hunting cultures primarily fed on animal products when they had it, right? So the idea that a lot of these cultures is that they went to plants when they needed to. And that makes complete sense. If you're a hunting culture, if you're eating meat, say you're eating meat for 3 or 4 million years, whether you eat meat every day or every second day, if you go this week and there's no meat to eat, but there's berries, you're going to eat those berries. Of course you are. And if you have to deal with that over time, right, over millennia, over tens of thousands of years, our body would digest it. Our body would be able to handle it. And that is, our body can handle carbohydrates. It absolutely can. It doesn't mean that it's optimal. It really doesn't mean that, right? So Paul gets into, after that, he gets into what makes a carnivore diet. There's many different tiers of a carnivore diet. And I'm not going to get into it, but this is an amazing book. And he basically says things like there's different tiers. Like I said, 1 tier to tier 5. I'm not going to talk about the whole book because you should go get it. It's amazing. Whether it's audiobook or whether you read it, it's great. But he talks about a carnivore diet, right? Meat. Some people just eat a meat and salt diet. Some people try and incorporate a lot of organs, and I would suggest eating a lot of organs as well, or not a lot, but I would suggest incorporating them because they have a lot of vitamins that you cannot get necessarily other places. One of the examples, for example, is that there is vitamin C in liver. People don't really realize that there's actually vitamin C in muscle meat as well, and steak. Very little amount rather, but there is amount in there. And because it's never been kind of published, they're never been really promoted, right? The first thing that I hear, and the first thing many people hear, is we're going on a carnivore diet. What about vitamin C? There's 2 parts to that. 1, there's vitamin C in animal food. 2, it's steroids, and it's a very good argument out there that says maybe we don't need as much vitamin C when we're on carnivore diet. Vitamin C and glucose molecule look very similar, right? And they kind of compete in the body. So I don't know, but I'll tell you, it talks about different levels of carnivore diet. Like I said, meat or eggs, or any animals. Any fish or any birds or anything that walks, they're all animals and they're all fair game. They're all fair game. Some people include cheese if you can tolerate it. Some people don't. I wouldn't include dairy for some people, but like I said, some people can. Even if you can tolerate dairy, for me, it's definitely stopped me lose weight in the past. But back to the book, he talks about the idea that we've been basically fat hunters again. And then closer to the end of the book, he gets into okay, we know meat's good. We know why we've been eating meat all along. But let's look at plants in a different way. And he talks about plants in a very interesting way, puts a just different spin on it. Not a spin, but he looks at it from a different angle. He talks about main things like oxalates. He talks about, what else? Oxalates and lectins, right? He talks about these different phytochemicals, which are sometimes touted as phytonutrients, but they might be phytotoxic for some people, right? Oxalates, for example, these little kind of crystals that form, and there's a lot of oxalates in vegetables, kale, for example, spinach, for example, sweet potatoes, and they can cause a lot of kidney damage, even if it's not a kind of like an acute thing. Could be something slow, something progressive over time. So oxalates are something that you should maybe look into. It's very interesting to see, and he talks about it a lot in the book. He says that kale and spinach and sweet potatoes don't love you back. I don't know. My own experience is that when I eat kale or spinach or a lot of greens for the most part, they kind of just run its course, and I feel like they didn't really serve a purpose. If you know what that means, you can read between the lines, right? broccoli, the same thing. The weird thing about broccoli is that broccoli actually has compounds in it, sulforaphane, I believe, that actually can cause goiter. So one of the weird things is that goiter is an enlarged thyroid, right? I think primarily due to a lack of iodine in the diet. So there's two parts of that. You can have a diet that has no iodine, right? And you could potentially have a goiter grow. And the idea behind a goiter is that if your thyroid hormone or thyroid gland rather needs iodine, right, to produce thyroxine, right, T4 and T3. T4 is the active form, or sorry, T4 is the form that your body produces. I think produces T3 as well, but then when it's converted from T4, it goes to T3 anyway. So your thyroid gland produces that, right? If you don't have enough iodine, your thyroid actually grows in order to try and absorb more iodine, right? To try and be like more of a sponge. That's my understanding. The other side, though, is that if you have foods that block the iodine absorption, right? Broccoli could potentially be one of them, especially if it's raw. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to eat raw broccoli every single day. You really don't. That may seem counterintuitive because you may hear that and say, what are you, crazy? Broccoli is amazing for you, right? You can eat it every day. No, man, look into it. Look into it, man, girl, woman, child, whatever you're listening to. There's nuance. It's nuance, right? Nothing is just 100% amazing. Nothing is just 100% amazing all the time, right? Even meat. I don't know. I haven't found too many downfalls of meat yet, but I'm sure there's a situation, and I know there's a situation where you're just not going to eat, right? Don't eat in the middle of the night. There you go. Don't wake up at 4 a.m. and just eat a steak. There's a bad example of how to do a carnivore diet. When you sleep. When you wake up, eat. So broccoli, right? The other thing is lectins. Lectins are in beans. Lectins are in nightshades. They give people problems, right? They're proteins. They can disrupt the gut wall, the gut barrier, right? Our digestive system, for the most part, it's not 100% closed loop system, but the idea is that it starts in your mouth, it ends at the other end. And what goes through your system is not supposed to kind of go outside of that digestive tract within reason, right? There's things that get absorbed through the stomach, there's things that get absorbed through the intestines and so on, but not just kind of permeate, right? It's not supposed to be a sieve through your digestive system. So one of the ideas is that lectins, among other things as well, are one of the proteins that can cause leaky gut. And what happens with leaky gut is that these proteins can get through the gut membrane, right? It can cause holes in the membrane, which would then lead other toxins or other potential foreign bodies that just don't belong outside the digestive system. If they get outside the digestive system, they can, and they do often cause autoimmune issues, right? There are a million different autoimmune issues out there. And one thing I want to say about autoimmune issues, I'm not an immunologist, I'm not an expert on autoimmune issues, but I can tell you this, how I feel instinctually. Paul talks about it as well, and many other doctors talk about it. Autoimmune issues are less likely a deficiency in antioxidants and more likely an assault on your body from some foreign invader. That's most likely what it is. It's either going to be potentially, right? Now, I don't know for sure. Potentially it could be an assault from a food that you're eating. Even if you think it's a good food for you, even if you've been eating this food for 50 years, this food can be causing it. Or something environmental as well, right? I think food is probably going to be your first and best thing to attack. Folks, why am I saying that? Paul has many stories in his book and other books and other podcasts and other interviews I've read and other interviews I've listened to. Countless stories of people fixing all sorts of issues by removing all grains. For a lot of people, removing all fruit. For a lot of people, removing all vegetables. If you remove all fruit, if you remove all vegetables, if you remove all grains, the only thing you're left with is mushrooms. And even mushrooms, Paul says, and other people explain, that they may not be the best thing for you as well. Folks, I'm going to recap and say you can eat anything you want, and if you feel great, God bless you, right? God bless you. But if you're looking for something, don't close the door. Don't rule out the fact that it may be that thing that you've been eating and you think it's the greatest thing for you. It may be that thing that you eat and you feel good when you eat it. But reevaluate that. Do you feel good here or do you feel good in your gut? Where do you feel good, right? If you're satisfied because it hit that sugar craving, that's one thing, and I can totally understand that. I don't think it's good, but I can totally understand that. That's like eating a candy, right? But if you eat it and it doesn't bother you at all, right? Okay. But if you have any sort of question, if you're any sort of situation where you think, well, maybe I can remove this thing, try it. And this is what Paul talks about, and this is what a lot of doctors and a lot of people talk about. It's the carnivore diet is a really good elimination diet because it starts from a base level of let's cut out all the bullshit. Not even bullshit. Let's just cut off everything. Let's start from scratch. The most nutrient dense food in the world is animal products, animal organs as well, animal fat. Start with that. If you need anything more than that, add it as you come. I've been doing the carnivore diet for 2 years now, almost 2 years. And the closest thing I would say is a supplement is liver. It's not something I eat every day. That's the closest thing to a supplement. I don't even know what else to say. I take thyroid medicines because I've removed my thyroid and I have to, but I bet you I could probably still get enough iodine. I might not even need a thyroid. I don't know, folks. There may be some truth to that. Thyroid, produces not just, of course. I think it does. I don't know what else it does, but I know it does produce T4, right, T3. But so I don't know where I was going with that whole thyroid thing. But at the end of the day, folks, I think if you have somewhere to go, that's just it. If you're in this spot and you want to go this way a little bit to improve your health or attempt to improve your health, or you want to go this way a little bit to lose some weight, this may work for you. This may work for you. The reason why you lose weight is because you're getting healthier. You're getting your body rid of the shit that your body doesn't like and the stuff that your body holds on to, right? In my opinion, when you eat food that prevents you from losing weight, it's not optimal if you're trying to lose weight, right? If you need to lose weight, or I'm not telling you need to lose weight, but if you think you do, if you feel like you would be more optimal or healthier, if your body would just work better if you're at a different weight, try it. Try it. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? There's a lot of freedom that comes with this as well. He talks about it, and Paul doesn't talk about it too much, but I want to talk about it just to kind of wrap up this carnivore code. One of the things that being a carnivore does for me, and I think it does for a lot of people, because I'm in a lot of different groups on Facebook, and if you are interested, let me know. I can hook you up with a bunch of different groups. It's amazing. Again, fatsoradio@gmail.com. One of the things amazing is that it's very, very liberating to, and I've said this before, but it's very liberating to not be controlled by your food. I'm sure it's just as liberating as to not be controlled by anything, right? If you're a smoker, if you're a drinker, if you're a vapor, if you're whatever, you do coke, you do whatever you do, you tap your finger 27 times a day and you can't stop. If you get relief, that's liberation. That's freedom. That's freedom for you to do the things that you really want to do, and the things that you feel are kind of healthy, right? So I'm going to wrap it up there. The carnivore code, Paul Saladino, let me get the link here for you. Well, I got the link anyway, it doesn't matter, but I'll put it in the show notes. Paul Saladino, the carnivore code. It is amazing, folks. He is, I don't know, I can't say enough about this guy. He's got a great website. He's got a great podcast. You should listen to his podcast. He has a bunch of different doctors on there all the time. It's amazing. The guy is he's energetic, he's enthusiastic, he's young, he loves to be wild, loves to be radical. I can't say enough about him. Folks, thank you so much for listening to Fatso Radio. Talked a little bit about what's going on for October. Let me know what you're doing for October. And then I talked about this carnivore code. It's a great carnivore code. Saying it right. Paul Saladino, MD. Actually, the foreword is written by Mark Sisson, which is another kind of luminary in the primal space. Probably the second or third book I read on the whole idea, but Primal Blueprint, Mark Sisson, amazing. Check them out. Carnivore code. It's available on Audible. I downloaded it. Let me know what you think. fatsoradio@gmail.com. See me on Facebook. Don't forget to rate and like and share and write a review if you like the podcast. Remember, it's just me. You write a review. It's good for my ratings. It's good for spreading the word. Send the word around, folks. Send the word. This is just a little podcast I do in my garage. You can't see it looks so professional here in Fatso Palazzo Studios, but I love it. It's a labor of love, folks. Of course, I love you guys all. Thank you so much, guys and gals. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching Fatso Radio every Friday. Coming to you. It's October 9th. October 9th. Fatso Radio loves you. Fatso Radio. Thanks so much, folks. I love you all. Peace. Let's say bye to everybody. Bye. And we'll say thanks for listening. Say thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.